Hi, it's Moni, and welcome to Mind and Your Business.
These my dollars make it hurt.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Mind and Your Business with Moni. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited today. I'm excited because I get to interview, I guess, like kind of my boss.
No, I'm no one's boss.
Well,
I'm someone's. My wife's my boss, but I'm not anyone's boss.
Okay. Well, I feel as though you have some responsibility over me, and I have some we have some type of relationship
Fair
here
enough.
in that I work within your ecosystem.
We work
now.
together.
We work together. So this is Jason Mitchell of Jason Mitchell Group. And guys, I want to read this bio because it's like, I'm being dramatic, but it's 80 pages long of awesome. And I feel like it's important to read it to give people context about why they should care about what you have to say, who you are. And there's stuff in here that I didn't know. So I'm going to actively read this.
Okay.
And it's going to be uncomfortable for you because
That's
I'm just
fine.
going to read about you and everyone's just going to watch you read.
There's probably a lot of BS in there.
Okay. Well, you can let us know what's not
Okay.
right at all. Okay.
Sounds good.
So Jason Mitchell is a highly accomplished real estate broker who's established himself as a top performing professional in the industry. He's the founder and leader of the Jason Mitchell Group, which is where I am now, my team, which has earned the distinction of being the #1 real estate team in the U.S. in 2022, having closed over 6,000 transactions, $2.8 billion in volume that year, increased those up to $3.6 billion, 7,500 transactions in 2023. So that's I don't think I can count that high. I don't know what those numbers mean, but I know they're really high. Jason has received numerous accolades throughout his career, including being ranked as the #1 producing agent in Arizona from 2015 to 2018. So that's why I didn't get it in 2017 because Jason got it. So I'm just saying it was only one step away. I was #2. I wasn't. I don't even know what that list is. And being named Real Estate Agent of the Decade, he was recognized as one of the country's most influential millennials and was awarded the National Homeownership Award by Riz Media in 2019. In 2020, Forbes magazine named him one of the top entrepreneurs under 40. He was later recognized as the most connected real estate agent in the United States. 2024, Jason was awarded another award from Riz Media, the Newsmaker Award. He's published a book, The Psychology of Real Estate Sales, which became a #1 bestseller on Amazon and Wall Street Journal. Is that right?
Yep.
Which includes a 40-day blueprint for achieving success in the real estate industry, which I think we'll probably touch on a little bit of that in this conversation. JMG, his company, was named in 2022 one of Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies in the United States. I mean, guys, this continues to go on. He's been featured in GQ, Forbes, Realtor, Riz Media, been on TV, ABC, NBC, Bravo, CNBC, HGTV, Fox News, on all these different boards, Zillow, Veterans United, Easy Knock, Rocket Homes. You guys get the point. Incredible resume. And, what stands out to me is that you have all of this going on, and yet I feel like not very many people know that much about you. And so that's why I wanted to know more about you. I want to know about how it is that you have created so much in such a short amount of time, and just takeaways that people who want to create something big, whether it's in real estate or not, like what you have learned surely the hard way, to help us kind of bypass and get successful faster.
Sure. Well, thanks
cool
for
with
having
that?
me on. I
Of
appreciate
course.
it. It sounds a lot more than what it really is. But I think as you grow, you start to develop a lot of relationships. I think my whole life is based on relationships and the people that I met and the people that have helped me along the way. And looking at those relationships and not just saying I know this person, but actually there's a reason I'm on 9 boards. It's because I want to be a part of it, and I want people to know that I care and I can lend a hand more than just, what wasn't said in there is that we're the #1 B2B brokerage in the country, meaning we receive referrals from a lot of organizations. And this year we should do around 100,000 of those, so about 50 billion or so in volume from our referral partners. And so that means more to me than having a #1 real estate team, because that means that I've created strong enough relationships, but also I've executed with those relationships to where they trust you at a very high level. You know, we're in 40 states now, and we just started growing outside of Arizona in 2018. So it's only been 6 years, and all these groups have trusted me as I've grown into these other states and markets that, you know, if we allow Jason to do so, we know that it'll work out. So there's a lot of trust that comes with that, years of trust. And so that's the foundation of kind of what my job is today, is to continue to build those relationships and create new relationships and bring new relationships to the table. Things get easier, though, as you go along. It's like the same thing when you're in the field. Like, as long as you keep working hard, every year should be better than the other with the absence of like a recession or an economic downturn, because you got more people that you've worked with and that you serviced. And it's the same thing when it comes to this. You know, the more people you put on your resume, the more people that automatically start saying, or not just automatically start saying, well, we can trust him, but also there's more people saying good about you.
Yeah.
I was just speaking at the Housing Wire event, and I got off stage, and there was like, I don't know, like quite a bit of people that I was chatting with that wanted to talk for a minute. And some of them would have been and will be new partnerships that I've heard of you, and it's a pleasure to meet you and talking with them. And then current partners that you got, you know, to talk about strategy, about what's coming on in the real estate, what's going on in the real estate market. But it's cool because when people equate you to somebody that they want to be around and that they care about, they go out of their way to like tout you and to make you feel special, but also to let other people know that that you're a good partner. And so I think integrity and character go a really long way. So yeah, that's the relationship side. Whether you're in the field or whether you're building anything, you need people to help you along the way. And that's not always just employees and internal support. It's also external people that, you know, look, you talk to a couple people and a few people say a bad thing about you, all of a sudden you don't even get a chance that you wouldn't have known even existed.
Yeah.
Right? But it's when people are seeking you out because they've heard positive things.
Yeah.
That's why I've always lived my life where I will always put other people first. I always said that, like, you know, for me, all the success aside, I didn't come from anything. And so for me, I know I'll be okay no matter what happens. I'd rather have other people win first and then I'll succeed after them. And that comes from partnerships, that comes from agents, because I know I'll be fine. You know, I've fallen on my face plenty of times to where, and hard, you know, like filing bankruptcy in 2010 and literally going from being a multimillionaire in my mid-20s to not having anything. And I don't look at that as like, a sob, because everyone relates the recession to like the sob stories, and it's not a sob story. It was a good thing that happened. I learned a lot. But I know what it is like to fail. And so I know I can get back on my feet. That's what made that, to me, the most interesting part of it was, even though I ended up going flat broke, I went to work like nothing ever happened, and I just rebuilt it. So I didn't think about, I was reminded of the failure going on because you got people calling you, and your mortgages are due, and your rent's due in the buildings, and all this other stuff, and who knows what, car repossessed, all that stuff. So you're reminded of the failure during it. But as long as you just put your head down and you go to work, eventually things will turn around. Because what's funny is the same thing that I equate to real estate was the same people that were upset with me when they bought houses in 2006 and 7 and then lost them in 9 and 10 because of the crash would have been the same people that cheered me when they bought a home in 11 and 12 and cheering me in 15 and 16. The reality is I didn't do anything different. The byproduct of the market and timing either made me a hero or it made me a villain. But I didn't do anything different. Timing's a crazy thing. And it's the same thing when in business too, where sometimes timing is more important than being right or having the right idea. Sometimes timing is really the byproduct of why this worked or why it didn't work. So there's the path of how'd you get here? Where did it come from? Where do you start from? All I know is that what's happened and transpired over the past like 5 years of molding a model to where you've become kind of this pioneer of brokerage as a B2B model. I got a good handle on it now. So I know what I need to do. It's just a matter of getting the right people around me to execute what I need to happen.
Okay, I have a question about that. So I think that's really interesting to me that you have in my opinion, you're rather quietly creating something that is very unique. And it drew me to Jason Mitchell Group because it was different than every other brokerage option out there when I was looking to make a change. And I am drawn to differentness, first of all. I just don't like doing what everyone else is doing. But my question in my head is what caused you to say, I want to try to create a B2B, a business to business, for those who don't know what that means, a business to business brokerage model? Where did that come from? Where did that idea start to percolate?
Yeah, I saw it, and I was very intentional about it. So I'm from Detroit, and my partners at Rocket Mortgage, Rocket Homes, years and years and years ago, had this concept of, and they were one of the first. And now there's a lot of big partners, and there's a lot of partners that we have now that we put on that same level that provide a lot of business to us that have the same modeling. But for me, I can say that in my world, that was the first partner that I knew about that was running this model of, we're going to take a consumer application for a purchase mortgage, but we need to put it with a trusted agent so the client has a good experience. And because I was from Detroit and I knew a lot of people at Quicken Loans at the time, I was the only realtor out of all of my friends. They all went to work in finance. So in Detroit, you worked at Rock Financial or you worked at Quicken Loans. And Quicken was really just getting off the ground in the early 2000s to where it was more internet-based. And then they went all in on that internet-based model and kind of pulled the retail model for a long period of time. So the concept was, my friend Sam Vida had an idea that he wanted to create the ability to have Quicken Loans send a referral from a client to their real estate company. And their real estate company would then refer that out to wherever the client was looking for a home.
Right.
And so my buddy Matt Stouffer, who was an executive at the time, said, I'd like you to introduce you to Sam and see if this is a fit for you. And I was out here in Arizona. This is 2010. And so 14 years ago at this point. And so Sam said, hey, look, can we send you some of our clients and would you work them in the field? And I said, sure. I mean, I was just getting back into real estate at that time. And so I've always been, good at sales and a good closer and motivated and stuff. And so I started working those, started closing deals. And what I noticed early on, as I started doing this, and then I said, hey, look, if I do a good job and I bring on some other people to help me work your business, is that okay? They said, sure, as long as they're closing, as long as they're doing a good job. And I said, okay, cool. But what I started to notice was that it used to be that when I first started in real estate in 2002, I was an intern with Pulte Homes. And so I graduated in 03. I did my internship in 02, and then I started working for Pulte. I worked for them for 5 years. But back then, you had to go to an agent, a realtor, to find everything. You couldn't go online to find a home. And so what ended up happening was you call realtor and they say, hey, I'm looking for this and that, and they would go through their own inventory or whatever they did back then. And they were the gatekeeper of everything. Mm-hmm. So I call Moni because I don't know what's available. I have no clue unless I drive down the street and see a for sale sign.
Right.
So you did all the dirty work, which also meant that you connected me. So you connected me to a lender.
Right.
You gave me a preferred title company. You did all the work up front first. Search didn't even exist. The first time I heard of search was when I moved to Arizona in 06. And it was called Zip Realty. It was the first online company that you could look at houses for sale, that I remember at least. So that didn't even exist then. But what I noticed in 2011 and 12 was the agent wasn't coming first. And they were going to even be, and as things started to grow, they would even be further down the line. What I started to notice was lenders that have billions of dollars, big lenders, and now Zillow coming into the mix and Realtor coming into the mix and Movado and all these other people coming into the mix, they're the ones getting to the consumer first. Now, the lenders are saying, hey, you now qualify for $300,000. Are you working with a real estate agent? And they say no, and now they're connecting them to a trusted partner. What I noticed then was if I could build something that I could get at the time Quicken and in-house realty to trust me with their clients if I could get the right agents in the right markets and build technology around it and reporting around it and be a really good partner to them, would they give me more business? And thankfully they did. And then a gentleman came into the fold. His name's Doug Siebold, who became a mentor and a great friend of mine, who's there today. He's the CEO of Rocket Homes, who really helped me kind of build my path with around what they were doing, as long as I was still servicing them the right way and being a good partnership. And through that, so many relationships came, so a lot of people that have worked there that no longer do, or that are still there, that are at the executive level, I built such good relationships over there at that time to where I had the trust. And they were still relatively newer. And so we were growing together, essentially, is what it became. But what ended up happening was, as I saw the model of what they were doing and said, there must be others. Maybe there's others.
Yeah.
And what happened was I got introduced to these great other partners, like Veterans United as an example. And then my friend that was at Rocket Homes went to New American Funding. Her name's Susie. And then so now they're building something for New American Funding. What ends up happening is, over the course of time, other people, as people leave, and they may find themselves in different roles and positions. But what really happened was, I got really lucky that I had the biggest mortgage lender on planet Earth as my first partner.
Right.
And so, because if I had, Bob's Broker Shop as my partner, people would say, who
cares?
Who cares? I had Rocket.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. And so they were the catalyst to it all. But what I bet the house on was, I know that this is going to become more commonplace, because you can't spend the money that you have to spend to get a consumer into your funnel and then allow them to go just into the abyss. Mm-hmm. You got to make sure you capture them. Right. You got to make sure that you can provide the entire experience to them. And so as things grew and we started to get more partners, now it was, how can I add more market centers? So how can I grow into Cali and then Vegas and then Florida? And so that was the dirty work I had to do. But no one wanted to listen to me, because no one knew who I was. And so I'm out there on the road I'm still on the road a lot, but I was on the road when I was building it more. You're out there and you're pitching this concept and people are like, I don't believe you. And you're like, no, it's true. I can get you referrals. Like, but you got to tell me, tell me about your business. Like, can you close? And they're like, nah, I have this discussion with you. Yeah. And I'm not paying these referral fees and this and that. And I was like, damn. So it was hard to get the story out there because we were so new into this modeling, but I had proof of concept in Phoenix, but it was like outside of Phoenix, I didn't have proof of concept. So the moral is, to go back to my original thesis, was that everything gets easier. It is a lot easier now to recruit people into our organization because I have every publication, everywhere you look online, saying you're the number one real estate team, the B2B platform. We got all these partnerships, and you can you don't have to question if it's real. It's clearly real.
Right.
So the story is easier to tell. But when you're building something, it's hard. It's just like when you're in the field selling houses. When I got back into real estate in 2010, I was 28 years old and I looked younger. And so for me, the credibility of what I was doing was very important. I had been the number one real estate salesperson at Pulte at a very young age, 24, 25. I led the country in units for sales, not volume, but units. And that's why I worked my way up there very quickly because, one, I had great people behind me, but two, I was really good at what I did. So I knew how to sell, and the year I quit Pulte in 2006, I made almost $800,000 that year. I was 25 years old. But I said I wanted something more. It wasn't for me anymore. I missed Detroit because I came out here. I missed the team in Detroit, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I just went into the field. But just like it gets easier in the field as you move along your career, this stuff gets easier too as you go along. And that's why I have a hard time with people that are a jack of all trades. And people will ask me, what's the biggest mistake you made in your career? And my clear answer is investing in things that I didn't know about. I'll never invest in what I don't know anymore. That's the only time I've lost money, is that when I invest in these coffee shops that I did, or bars and restaurants with people, or, random investments that I don't know much about, but I trust people, and then you lose because you don't have control over it. I don't do that anymore. And the fact that, why haven't you had a reality show? Because I've been so focused on building my company that I don't want the distraction of it. And that's not to say that there's no value in that, clearly. And there's also value in having a show, but working really hard and using that as a catalyst to grow. And I respect those guys like Matt and Josh Altman. Those guys are great. They work their ass off, right? And they're popular. They're famous. My buddy Tarek, he's famous. He's popular. And he uses this as a mechanism to drive business, right? But for me, it wasn't something that never presented itself so crystal clear to me to where I could back off because I'm so busy with partnerships and like when I say I'm on the phone every day with partners, I don't think people understand that. Like when I say every day, every single day, I mean, I could show you my phone today. Every day I'm talking to 4 or 5 different partners and it's constant. Sometimes it's the same people, sometimes it's other people, sometimes it's biz deving with new people, then it's traveling. Relationships take time. We were lucky enough a couple weeks ago, I got the Freedom Mortgage, which is the 3rd largest mortgage servicer in the country, Freedom Mortgage. They're a massive company, right? And so they have their leadership retreat. So I went to Atlantic City, and of the hundreds of vending partners that they have and the hundreds of relationships that they have that they partner with here, there, I mean, they're huge, right? JMG gets Partner of the Year. And so they gave out 2 awards, 2 Partners of the Year. One was JMG, and then the next up to get their award was JP Morgan. So you say, this is silly, right? But that's kind of where it's evolved to where you have groups that really trust you and that you bring value to them and they bring value to you. But because you can strategize at a high level and you can also manage at a high level, and working behind the scenes with partners like Home Story, for example, like how do we up the Chase products and blah, 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 blah. And how do we work with, these other partners that they have to give them the best experience? How do we distribute effectively? How do we grade effectively? I think I got my PhD in that at this point. And so it is about staying consistent with what you do best and making sure that you don't get off track. Because what I see is I see a lot of people that try something, they dip their toe in, but all of a sudden now, so they're a real estate person and then they're a wholesaler who now has this other business of doing this.
Right.
And if that's your thing, I don't hate on anybody. Do your thing. I just have been so hyper-focused at building this company to where, we'll do 12,000 plus transactions this year for over $5 billion in sales. Like our company's extremely valuable at this point. JMG is worth over $200 million at this point when you consider when you look at our financials, right? And so that's important to me because it's not about although it does matter that my family and my daughter and my sons and their kids, that they'll never have to worry like I didn't have. It's also about the people that have built it with me because those people come first, giving them shares and participation in the upside of this company, putting them in positions to succeed. They're more important because like I said, I'm never worried about myself. I'll always be okay. I'm lucky enough to be born where I was pretty smart, good-looking guy that works his butt off. I think my heart is where that I was blessed with the most is that I was born with a great work ethic. But I was also born with a good mind. And so, I'll always be okay. But now we got something pretty special here. And now it's very valuable. And so I need to take that and get it to where I need to get it to. And I don't know where that endpoint is. But now there's people that rely too much on me, not only from our internal operations people, but we got 850 people at JMG. I got 1,200 agents at a company that I acquired last year. And I got another 20 employees on that side, plus 30 some at JMG. Like there's a couple thousand people essentially that rely on me, not just me, of course, but I happen to be the chairman, right? So I'm a coach. It's just like coaching football. It all does begin and end with me. If we fail, it's my fault. And if we succeed, I'll participate in that. But it is on my shoulders now. And but I'm really proud to see where we're at. Just no matter where we go.
Okay, so you said a lot, and there's a couple things that I want to just bring out, or a question I have in my head. So first thing is you talked a lot about partnerships, and it seems to me that for whatever reason, you said the word, I got lucky, and I somewhat reject that because it's like, no, like obviously there's something about you that is causing these different companies, people, leaders to say, you know what, that's going to be our partner. Do you know, or do you have an idea in yourself what it is about you that makes you a good partner in these different arenas?
I think in today's world, I think it's easy for people because we have a lot of great partnerships, but they're at the highest level. You know, they're at the CEO level, the founder level. And so when you have the people like that that somebody could easily call, because if I'm going to create a national partnership, someone's going to say, oh, they're partnering with this group, this group, this group, this group. They're going to know somebody. And so they're going to call, hey, do you know Jason Mitchell? Yes, he's one of the best guys I know. So it's easier now is what I'm saying. When you're building new partnerships, people that don't know you, they can find out about you through other means because our partnerships are with more of the higher level executives. And so everybody knows somebody, right? And that's where I think the important factor of, it, you know, it's just like, I equate it to this. If, I don't know, just name a partner. If New American Funding called me today and said, hey, Jay, the last couple months have been really tough on us. Can you work for the next 3 months on all the referrals and just give us 100% of the commissions? My response would be, you sure you don't want 6 months? My response would be, whatever I can do to even do better than what you're asking me to do. And I think it's the same thing why I was successful in the field. You know, I got back into real estate in 2010. In 5 years, I didn't have a client then, not a client, because I wasn't in real estate then, I was in finance then. And so when I got back into real estate in 2010, I didn't have a single client. How is it in 5 years, I went from doing $0 in business to 160 million in personal production? Because I was so good at relationships. People knew that I worked my ass off and that they could trust me. And for that, I also was not greedy and overwhelmingly generous to those people.
Interesting.
So, for example, you take a client.
I love that. Overwhelmingly generous. That
Yeah.
that is something I think a takeaway for everyone listening right now.
Well, look, it all comes full circle. If I go above and beyond and I can do over the top what people thought, it all comes full circle.
That's consistent with you too, because even bringing me on board, you were overwhelming. You were overly generous, I felt. And it's honestly unique. You know, I obviously I get courted to go different places, and you were offering more than I was even thinking about.
Because it's just about winning. Like, you can't win when you're only thinking about yourself or the bottom line, or, you know, like I look at relationship equity as I'd rather you have more of it than me.
Relationship equity. Ooh, sheesh.
Yeah.
Love it.
So when you go out of your way and people are saying, can't say a bad thing about him.
Right.
He's the best. He's the best. But then you actually prove it as to why they say that, then you win. But that stuff takes time. This is years and years of, you know, I call them that there are certain things that I call mental check marks, to where somebody's checking off the box that he's just not let me down so many times, that sometimes you even get one and they're like, so what? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, or there's a mistake that your operations team made or something made, or a referral fee didn't get paid. And all, like, if, for example, Veterans United didn't get a referral check last week on a closing and it took a month, they're not calling up and being like, you're not paying us, we got to shut you down. They're like, there was just an error.
Yeah.
You know,
that benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. Like Amerisave would call and be like, hey, Jay, can you check into this? Not like, hey, why didn't you pay us? Because everyone knows, like, there's no way that's true. It's just things that, you know, that you've built up so much value in the relationship with that. Now, again, too, the nice thing is with these groups is that, you know, you're more than a partner. Like Rick and Patty Arviello were texting me this morning. My daughter was in the hospital yesterday, as you know, and checking in on Ruby. Is she okay?
Yeah.
And then, you know, multiple partners. John Price at Home Story checking in. Like multiple partners saw that my daughter was in the hospital. So what are they doing? Jay, is Ruby okay? Is Ruby okay? Like, you build that level. And then when you get to that level, then now you mean something to them on a personal level. Mm-hmm. And when you get to that point, everything changes, because now, and when I say changes, it doesn't get easier. Now to me, it's, now I can't let these people down. Forget the business level. Right. Like, I have a vested interest in these people because I truly care about them. That's when you win. And then they help you along the way too. Look, I mean, you know, this You know, this game that I play is a game to where the more that you have people backing you, the more you have to invest in backing them. That's why for me, literally so much of my job is just communication. Communicating, like I used to communicate in the field like you do, nonstop on your phone. Mm-hmm. I always say, I told a really good agent here, her name's Lisa Roberts, who I love, and she's always kind of been a little mentee of mine. She's a wonderful agent here. She asked the question, kind of like you asked me, Moni, of like, how do you do all this? Like, how do you do all this? And the reality is my workload is no different than yours. It's just different. My workload is the same. You work just as hard as I do. I just have positioned it to where my workload is external, where yours is internal. Yours is internal in the field, mine is external to relationships. So neither one of us works harder than the other. We both work extremely hard. It's just your hard work is to your craft currently in the field with your clients and your team members, where mine is more on a corporate level now of relationship building with them. It's the same workload when I was in the field, except it was dedicated to what you were dedicating it to. One is no better than the others and one is no different than the others. It's just a matter of how you structure your time. And prioritization of time is very critical. You know, if it ain't in the calendar, it ain't getting done. I think we both operate like that. But it's also about how are you prioritizing your time to the most. See, where I have a benefit is I'm fortunate enough that our company does well. And so for that,
These my dollars make it hurt.